It's a little after 11:30. You're looking at a live shot outside, and we are so glad you're here. You're hopefully in your home. If you're watching this, you are, or somewhere out of the cold, out of the rain, and enjoying this Friday here at Atlanta & Company. I'm Christine Clara, and we are thrilled to have you with us. Well, have you ever accused your husband of being angry? Anger problems affect many men in today's fast-paced society. Self-proclaimed the anger guy, Evan L. Katz, author of Inside the Mind of an Angry Man, joins us today to shed some light on his journey with anger and how he overcame it. So great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the book. I like this book for a number of reasons. It is thin. So if a manual can actually be this thin, guys, I'm all over it, because there are so many like parenting books and things out there, and they're this thick, and I get to about 20 pages, and I think, okay, I don't have time for that. So before we get into what the impetus was for you to write the book, who is the angry man, the anger man?
An angry man is often someone who does really well outside the home. Wives will ask me all the time, why is he an angel outside the home and inside the home is just out of control?
All unravels.
Right. And it's often due to the emphasis for the man is on performance.
Sure.
He's about being rewarded out there in the work world, and life at home is falling apart. So they are often wrapped up in being not a person, but their identity is caught up in their position. They'll come in and say, well, I'm a CEO. This is what I do.
Sure.
I say, no, you're a person who happens to be a CEO.
Exactly.
And they're reaching for perfection, and let's face it, perfectionists are the only ones who always fail.
Exactly. No kidding. And you mentioned in the book 3 types of angry men. Tell us about these types. How can we identify them?
Well, we have the aggressive man, and that's what we usually identify with in our society. This is the squeaky wheel, the one where people will intervene because they're yelling or screaming or calling people names and
they're the obvious
people.
angry man.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
Right. And then we have the passive-aggressive man, and this one is tricky because this is the one that makes the other person feel like they're crazy.
They're wrong and they're crazy. Yes.
And there's such vagueness. And the louder you get, the softer they get.
Yes. I've been in relationships, not my husband, but I have been in some with some men just like that. Drives you crazy. Drives you crazy because you're thinking, oh, how did it suddenly tables turn and now it's all my fault. It's all my fault.
Yes.
And then the third type.
The third type is a passive man. These don't have to be just about men. These are style. But a passive angry man is one who manipulates people to the point he gets them all to do the work for him. You ever see someone who kind of sits back and says, well, I don't know, well, you guys decide, well, do this. They take no risk. So the responsibility is always someone else, and if things fall apart, they're the victim. They're not
people like that too.
Right.
Interesting.
They can be very destructive on an extreme level, and what I see is the folks the men particularly, who commit a lot of violence, who, the Columbine and all of these terrible things that are happening.
Which one are they typically more, would you say, the passive?
Yes, the passive.
When it comes to the violence.
Because what do we see afterwards when they interview people? Every time.
Yes.
He was a nice guy. He was so quiet.
Right, right.
And in fact, they're premeditated. We look in the homes, they have ammo, they have loaded up. And these are the guys that we can worry about sometimes. Not all the time.
Sure.
Not most of the time. But certainly they can be pretty
dangerous.
They can be pretty dangerous.
And you have your own personal journey, and that was the impetus for writing the book. So tell us about your experience and why you decided that it was time to make a change.
Well, in my life, I grew up as an angry young man. My father was angry. He was an alcoholic. I learned very young that I was secondary, alcohol, and what he wanted was first.
Sure.
And he was very controlling, very dominating, and I was kind of like the emotional punching bag.
Right.
What I learned was to be tolerated was about the best I was going to get. So it was a very difficult time, and children, myself included, learn who we are based on what our parents tell us.
I know.
And
So
what they
true.
show us. And this is what I came to believe. So when I went into school, I felt different right off the bat. I felt less than. I felt that I was looking just to be tolerated. And that's pretty much how I lived. Now, my coping began to change when I was a little older in school and I found that I was really good in academics. Now, for my father, it wasn't good enough, but at least for myself...
You found an outlet.
Yes, I found something safe that I could hang on to in school and at least pride myself on a little bit. And I had the support of teachers and so forth. But as time went on, I became very much like my father, which is not uncommon.
Right. I hear you either, excuse me for interrupting, but you either become like them or you say, I'm going to be the polar opposite. And it sounds like that's what you decided to do, is to just change, break that cycle.
And that's eventually what came to. My father was in the hospital. We got in an argument, and 6 hours later, he was dead.
Oh, my gosh.
And, you know, I was a catalyst to my father's death. Not that it was my fault. His own anger killed him. But I was, and I said, I don't want my daughter to be that way, so I'm going to change.
Well, listen, I've read the reviews on Amazon. A lot of people are saying there are a lot of books on anger out there. This is a wonderful guide. And thank you so much for being here. It's not a very comfortable topic to talk about, but if you're dealing with an angry man, your father, your husband, your partner, you might want to pick up the book. It's Inside the Angry Man. It's at a bookstore near you, or you can visit angerguy.com. Thank you so much again. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The news now. The fate of one of America's most popular reality TV shows is still up in the air tonight. The controversy comes as one of the Duck Dynasty stars was in Atlanta today. Now, that show, as you may know, has been under fire after one of the stars condemned homosexuality. And as Mark McAfee